Right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for making the effort to be with us this evening. We've got quite an agenda to work through. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Daniel Amy, and I'm the Assistant Head of Senior School. And I'll be talking to you initially about a few things, but essentially that's our agenda. I'll let you peruse that for a couple of moments. So tonight, you'll get a lot of information about essentially how you as students can continue to shape your academic future with the decisions that you make over the coming weeks. Decisions primarily based around maths and English courses, whether you will focus on the arts or sciences or a combination of the two, whether you consider a VET pathway or studying a language outside of Concordia, etc., etc. If you'll allow me, I'm going to take up a few minutes of your time, and I don't want to start this evening off by talking about subject-related pathways. You'll hear enough of that tonight. What I want to talk a little bit about is the idea that risk is an inherent part of making decisions. I also want you to use this time to consider your values and how they influence your decision making. And by this, I mean for you to consider what drives your decisions. What or who do you listen to? Are your decisions based on what's expected of you? Are your decisions guided by your desire to serve others or driven by future financial gain? I want you to be challenged not just by the choices in front of you in the booklets you receive, but equally by what your heart and mind tells you about what you believe in for your future. Now, there's a story I read when I was researching these ideas, and it's about two students at uni struggling to get through their courses. And this story, or at least the sentiments behind it, may well apply to you as a student in 12 months' time or 18 months' time, but I think there's value in telling it now. So I'll tell it in the third person. My friend and I got our degrees at the same time, hers in engineering, mine in maths. These subjects are hard. There were classes we really had to struggle with, fight to get through, and survived only by digging our fingernails in. Along the way, many of the people who started at the same time we did dropped out. They quit. But we didn't, and we've got degrees to show for it. We came up with a saying. Let me explain. We'd rather fail a class 3 times or so and eventually pass it than quit and resign ourselves to the idea that we just don't get it. That kind of defeatism has to be expunged from your mind. And while there are things that you can't do or have, most of the things that you desire in your life you can have. But only if you treat failure as part of the learning process. If you see failure as the end, that makes you a quitter. You can't succeed at anything if you quit. Don't be a quitter, be a failure. Please remember that story next year as you embark on some quite difficult courses, perhaps. So if there's a subject that you'd like to choose but you have your doubts and you think you might fail, talk to the relevant people about it. Never mind what the person next to you is doing or thinking about, your decision is yours. Get the full picture, get the advice, get some help. But at the end of the day, you have to make perhaps a leap and imagine how great success could be while being at ease with the prospect of failure. Let me go through that bit again because it applies to all of us, including me. Imagine how great success could be while being at ease with the prospect of failure. And because we're a school built on Christian values, we consider how these Christian values permeate our everyday lives. And that includes the choices we make. And I think this reading from Proverbs is quite pertinent for this evening. But can I just add something in there, if I'm able or allowed? Do not lean on just your own understanding. Trust in God, but also trust the people that God has placed before you to help you. So to finish, I'd like to offer up a prayer before I pass over to Fiona McCauliffe, or Peter Lesky, is it? Oh, John Layden, okay. Third time lucky. I knew it was one of you three. Let's bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, please help the young people with us to choose their path based on how they want their future to develop, based on a self-belief that will give them the strength to move past failure and embrace success. Teach them the humility to ask for help, but also the gratitude to realize their fortune in having these choices in their lives. In your name, amen. So just to sum up, don't be a dead fish. John.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Layden and I'm a maths teacher, but I'm also the SACE coordinator for this term while Aliki Petros is away on leave. So the three main pathways in Year 11 and 12 is the South Australian Certificate of Education known as SACE, Vocational Education and Training in the SACE, or the IB Diploma program. Okay, so what is the SACE? The South Australian Certificate of Education is a qualification awarded to students who successfully complete the requirements of their senior secondary education. So what do you need to do to successfully complete it? You need credits. SACE subjects are described as 10 credits or 20 credits. Most subjects in Year 11 or Stage 1 are semester, that's a half year, so it's a 10 credit subject. It's equivalent to one semester's work. And we'll just mention in terms of terminology, you've probably heard of an ATAR, that's the Australian Tertiary Admissions Rank, from which the SACE will eventually qualify you for an ATAR. Okay, so how do students get their SACE? Most students gain their SACE over 2 years of study. There is the option for it being a bit longer than that, but most people do it over 2 years. There are 2 stages. Now, given that not everybody does what are called Stage 1 courses in Year 11, they've got a special name, but generally speaking, Stage 1 courses are completed in Year 11, apart from the PLP, which most students complete in Year 10. And Stage 2 courses are generally completed in Year 12, but once again, some students do Stage 2 courses in Year 11. So how do students get their SACE? Each completed subject earns credits towards the SACE. You need a minimum of 200 credits or 20 semester courses to gain the certificate. Students receive a grade from A to E for each subject at Stage 1 or A+ to E- at Stage 2. So to achieve SACE completion, you need a C grade or higher for the compulsory subjects. What are they, you ask? Well, there's the personal learning plan. So that is required to be at a C grade or higher. You need to get 2 semesters or 20 credits of literacy credits for a range of English subjects. You need to get 10 credits for 1 mathematics subject to satisfy the numeracy requirements. And you need to complete the research project at C grade or better. And at Concordia, we are asking students to do their research project in Year 11. We found that a really good way of encouraging people to develop research skills and to, I think, be a better place for starting Stage 2 courses in Year 12. So, how do students get their SACE? Stage 2 subjects, you need to have 3 of them, so 3 20 credits courses at C- or greater. So whilst it doesn't matter what you get for the non-compulsory Stage 1 courses, 3 of the courses you do at Stage 2 need to be at C- or higher. So students must also choose from a range of Stage 1 or Stage 2 subjects, VET or other courses. So there are 110 compulsories, 60 from Stage 2, 5 from numeracy, literacy, research project, PLP. So you have 90 other credits you gain from other subjects, and the grade you gain for those is not significant. So therefore you need a total of 200 credits. So in terms of SACE assessment, Stage 1, it's A to E grades in every subject. A to C are pass grades, but as I said, apart from the compulsory subjects, if you've got a D or an E, that's not going to be a deal breaker. There are skills and knowledge focused on the SACE capabilities of communication, citizenship, learning, personal development and work. Stage 1 is marked by Concordia teachers. Stage 2, there's a double check of marks in all subjects to ensure appropriate standards. That partly happens through external moderation and also through external assessment. 30% of every Stage 2 subject is marked by experts outside of the school through exams, practical projects, presentations, etc. So of course this means 70% of the mark is decided at school, but subject to moderation. So calculation of the ATAR. A student's ATAR is calculated from their best 4 Stage 2 subjects, the scaled score, and their research project scaled score, or from their best 4 Stage 2 results and half of another 2 Stage 2 scaled score. So apart from the research project and completing the compulsory C grade or better requirements for literacy and numeracy, work in Year 11 does not count or impact upon a student's ATAR. Now I've effectively already said that, but I do get some students in Year 11 who get very concerned, oh, this is going to affect my ATAR. Much as you need to pass the compulsories in Stage 1, it does not have any impact upon your ATAR. And in one sense, Stage 1 is a really good learning experience of getting to know what it's about, how to study, how to be successful. So thank you very much.
Thank you and welcome. It's my privilege just to go over some of the VET requirements. Most of you who are interested in that area will have met with Mr. Gogol at the earlier session. But just to remind you that it's a training session that can give you access to SACE credits. So Mr. Layden has said we need 200 SACE credits to get through to the end of the year, some to get to the end of SACE. But you can use VET courses to be able to make up those numbers. And Mr. Gogol was very good at explaining how they translate into ATAR points as well. So if you need more information, I suggest with those that you will make contact with Mr. Gogol if you haven't already done so, and the students could make an appointment with him. You can look on the website for a list of courses, but he also had a handout in the earlier session. Certificate 3 or higher, so there's Certificate 3 and 4 courses that will contribute towards the ATAR, and I'll actually go on to talk about them a little bit further later. Research project. Mr. Francis, I'm on that one too, is that correct? Yes, that's right. Mr. Spargo is our research project coordinator, and I wanted to just give you a bit of background into that because it is a significant subject you will do as Year 11. You'll finish the PLP, you know that's important to get done and get done well, but finishing the research project has got the potential to count towards your ATAR in the end, so it's important that you take that seriously. The research project next year, parents, has the potential to possibly be your worst nightmare for next year because it'll be the thing that you will be stepping up from the personal project. Have you done your personal project? Is it time to write the evaluation yet? Have you submitted it? Where are you up to? Are you maintaining your work on it? That sounds familiar from this year? Yep. It'll step up it again from next year. To have that one in the bag before going into Year 12 is going to be a great asset, but there's a number of things to think about. The students won't get to select which semester, so they will either end up doing it in semester 1 or 2 next year. What you have learnt from the personal project about your organisation and about the way that you plan and prepare ahead is what you will be putting into place in this. So when Mr. Amy is saying at the start of the session, every failure is a success and it's a very rich learning experience, everything you did wrong in the personal project is something you won't do wrong in the research project. So think of those failures or not quite meeting up to the standard you would have liked as a success in what it will bring you in this next year. Quick interlude from me while Mr. Roberts-Thompson recaps the IB Diploma.
Thanks very much. I won't take up much time because there was the diploma session before this for those people who are interested. If you missed that session about the diploma, please get in touch with me and I can go through the specifics. But in terms of SACE students, there is the diploma as a second option if you haven't already thought about it. It is essentially a pre-university course which is run around the world in the same course, the same exams, sat by people all around the world in both November and May. We do run it here. It's a really good program. We had excellent results. If you're interested, send me an email because I'm not going to go through that now. But the thing that SACE students can do is that you can choose to do one IB subject as part of your SACE. So there are students this year doing English B as a IB subject within their SACE. We have students doing film as an IB subject within their SACE. We have a student doing arts as well within the IB program. They are all options that you can do, and you can choose one IB subject if you wish. And there are a variety of options, and if you would like to investigate those options, please let me or Mr. McAuliffe or someone know, and we can help you sort those things out. They do work essentially exactly the same. You'll get a score. It is not scaled though from the IB. You'll just get a straight score depending on whether you get a 1 to 7, just like in your MYP this year. Excuse me. So if that's of interest, please let me know. In your booklets, you should have the IB subjects that are available in addition to the SACE subjects. And if you think that one of the IB subjects would suit you, let us know and we can sort that out. Mr. Lesky.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Lesky, as you can see, and I'm the acting head of maths for Year 11s and 12s this year. And I'm here to talk to you about the options in mathematics under the SACE. There are 4 different subjects, and they're listed on the screen from the most complicated at the top down to the easiest at the bottom. So the specialist mathematics is for our most able mathematics students. On the right side, we have that is open to students in the Year 10 extension mathematics only, really. Maths methods is the next level down, and that is open to students from the Year 10 mathematics classes, the general mathematics classes, or the extension class, of course. The general mathematics is open to students from the Year 10 general maths classes, and the essential mathematics is open to students from the Year 10 essential maths class. So let me try and explain a little bit more about that, but not in great detail. So students who are in the Year 10 Essential Maths class at the moment are doing the SACE unit. If they pass the SACE unit this year, get a C grade or better, they do not have to continue with maths next year. However, we will not find out until the end of this year if they have passed or not, until they've completed all their work and been graded on it all. So when it comes to making the subject selections, we ask the students who are in the Year 10 Essential Maths class to choose the mathematics for next year. That really won't be a choice. They have to choose a mathematics course, but in their reserve options to put down what they'd like to do if they do manage to pass it this year. The Essential Mathematics course next year can be taken as just a 1-semester course, so that students, once they've achieved their C grade, may stop doing mathematics and concentrate on other subjects if they wish, or it can be taken over the whole year to lead into the Year 12 Essential Mathematics course. The General Mathematics course, going up the list again, is a full-year course, but again, for some reason, if students decide that once they've finished their first semester and have got their C grade, they may stop that subject and then go on and concentrate on other subjects. The mathematical methods and specialist maths are a slightly different kettle of fish. These are the courses which rely heavily on the algebra, so students need to be good with their algebra from the Year 10 maths classes to do those courses. The mathematical methods course next year is a 30-credit course, which is 3 semesters of maths, so that's 1.5 subjects on the lines. And the specialist maths then is only a 10-credit course. So students who want to do specialist maths, they must choose the maths methods with that. That makes 2 whole subjects worth. Students who are just doing the mathematical methods course, since that's 1.5 years worth, that fits in nicely with the research project, which makes up the other semester. The third bullet point on the screen, students must satisfy the grade requirements for the desired subject along with the recommendation from the maths teacher. Those grade requirements are printed in the curriculum booklet, so please read those carefully. It mentions things like, for specialist maths, students need to have a minimum IB score of 6 in the maths subject and a minimum of 7 for criterion A. And all the Year 10 maths teachers have made recommendations on what they think would be best for the students to take on in Year 11. My best advice is probably, if you have any questions, speak to the maths teacher who has them now. They will be able to give you the best advice on what maths course to choose for next year. And it's back to Mr. McAuliffe.
Okay, so as you're making your selections for subjects, you're probably thinking about, so what do I have to think about by the time I get to end of Year 12 and I'm putting in applications for university? So the purpose now is for me to give you a little bit of a background. You don't need to memorise all this and have it all, able to be recalled whenever. You need to know that the information is available, and if you do need to check on anything, you can contact the school. So Mr. Layden said earlier to achieve the SACE you needed to complete 3 Stage 2 subjects. So that's to get your SACE certificate. You need a SACE certificate for TAFE entrance, but you need to get an ATAR for other entrance. A SACE certificate will be adequate for a TAFE entrance, but you can actually get into TAFE without SACE. But you will need to get an ATAR to get into university, and that requires 4 subjects. So you'll need 90 Stage 2 credits. So if they're 20 each, that's 4.5. You also need to consider what prerequisite subjects you'll require for any university courses, which is why we do the career mentoring evenings, why we do the subject counselling, why there are opportunities for you to go to the universities and visit over the next couple of years for you to have a look at what prerequisites are there. For most of them, they're minimal, but if you want to be able to keep options open, for example, medicine might require chemistry and mathematics at Adelaide University. Some engineering degrees will require mathematics and physics. Some will require mathematics or physics. So each university, each degree will have their own prerequisites. You can get a general idea of what it would be like, but it will be also your responsibility to check in Year 12 what the prerequisites are for the following year to make sure there haven't been any changes. And as mentioned, you'll be able to use SACE subjects and a VET course to generate an ATAR as well. And as Mr. Roberts-Thompson has said, you can include 1 diploma subject to be recognised towards your ATAR. So how might that happen? It could look like this. You might do 4 subjects and include the research project. The aggregate that gets added up is used to then rank to get the results. While 4.5 subjects, one of the disappointments I've had perhaps in secondary schooling in South Australia recently has been that when the government said you needed, or the university said you needed 4.5 subjects to be able to get an ATAR, we said, great, that's all we'll do. The eastern states, the diploma and other certificates, still only need 4.5 subjects, but they will do 5, and in Queensland 6, and in the diploma 6. So one of the things to remember when we look at a model like this, well, we'll do the research project in Year 11 and then we'll just do 4 subjects in Year 12, you won't be match fit for the footballers. You won't be as ready for university as those that have done 5 or 6 subjects. So you'll go in a little bit underdone, and for any of the universities that require an individual application, perhaps overseas and some of the independent universities, you're not going to compare with as well, or you wouldn't compare as well with the interstate students by doing 4. There are reasons why you might, and that might include outside interests and things that you're doing. So if you're an elite athlete competing at national level during that year, if you've had a long-term illness, if you've had extenuating circumstances at home, that's a great buffer and a great option. So generally, it will be 4. You'll do the 5th subject, and if the 5th subject is as good as your or better than your research project, it'll be the half of that one that counts. And if you also attended the diploma session before, Mr. Roberts-Thompson talked about how the transfer goes as well. So that's just a possible example. If you were doing 6 subjects out of a possible 7 each, you could end up with 30 if you got 5s. Don't expect that your grades you're tracking at in year 10 are going to roll over exactly, because 11 and 12 are harder regardless of which course you take. So say if you are tracking on 6s and 7s and you thought maybe 5 is a good estimate of where you would go, and I've been generous in saying what if you only got 1, which means you get 2 Cs, a C and a D even in the EE and the TOC essay, then you could end up with a possible 31 out of 45, which gives you a 90.9. So that is set. Now, we can't do the same thing for the SACE and say if you get all Bs, you'll get an ATAR of 90 or 89. We can't do that because the SACE is ranked. So the score that you get, or the aggregate score, then is put in order. And so depending where you come in the order from year to year, how that changes. But with the IB Diploma, if that's what you get, that's what you get. All right? So the SACE, some years it will be, you might be advantaged, and some years maybe not, depending on how well they go. Another question I get about ATARs in the SACE is the scaling. And people say to me, well, should I pick this subject because this one gets scaled up and the other one gets scaled down? Probably about 5 or 6 years ago, the scaling had an impact where it did make a significant difference. My advice to anybody choosing subjects from now is not to think about scaling. The differences are very minimal and also unpredictable. Some years a subject like psychology might go up, and other years it might go down. And the difference that your interest level will have on your grade is far more significant than the scaling. So choose a subject over your interest level rather than scaling. Bonus points. There is a common scheme for bonus points for all the universities now. And so if you choose a subject that is a language other than English, if you choose a literature or an English subject, math methods, specialist maths, you can attract bonus points up to 4. You can get 2 per subject. Now that can make a significant difference if you are looking at a very competitive end of the ATAR scale. All right, so things like physiotherapy, perhaps radiography, speech pathology, some of the high-end things, the little bit extra is what makes the difference to move you up just a little bit. But it can be a significant amount depending on how well you do in each of the subjects that you choose that attract bonus points. So again, if I were to be choosing subjects over whether I thought they were being scaled or whether they attracted bonus points, I would go with the bonus points. Note though that if you are applying for medicine or veterinary bioscience, that there are no bonus points. There's no easy ride into there. There's no easy ride through secondary school either. I think Mr. Amy alluded to that, but I was also thinking a similar thing. There'll be things that you get wrong, things that you mess up, and it won't. When the going gets tough, you will find out who's around you who can help, but you'll also find out about your resilience. It's not how many times you fall, it's how well you get up again afterwards. And the bonus points apply to IB students as well. There are other bonus points that are eligible for students that have school card, healthcare card, or have Centrelink. So there's a maximum number of bonus points of 9 in that category. 9 altogether, 5 for that. If you're eligible for those and you get the 4 bonus points for the subjects you do, you can get 9 altogether. So most TAFE courses, you will require SACE completion, and some of the applications for a TAFE course will include a folio as well. If you've done Certificate 3 through a VET course, you might be starting off applying at TAFE for a diploma, which then can go on to the bachelor. So you can still end up doing an undergraduate degree course by doing a VET pathway through school into the diploma and then into degrees. All right, university and TAFE, we're going through SATAC, and you get to have lots of sessions, or a number of sessions with me during Year 12 on how to process that. All right, both the SACE and the IB, you'll get an ATAR either way. The IB SATAC guide will give you more of those conversions that I gave you in Model 3, Sample 3. You apply to university. SATAC is a South Australian tertiary admissions centre, and so through SATAC you register, you pay a $25 fee, and they will sort out your applications for you, or process your applications for universities within South Australia. If you apply for a Victorian one, VTAC is the system. There's QTAC, there's UTAC, and a number of others Mr. Robert Thompson knows off by heart, no? If you're going to apply overseas, that's another discussion, and the common application covers about 500 colleges in the US, and there's also many individual university applications. So helping process the TSA test for the Oxford-Cambridge applications with a student today as well. So some of the ones that are not our usual pathways would be individual conversations with one of us about how to do that. There are things for you to be thinking about, perhaps late Year 11 during Year 12. Things to think about. I had a little bit of a look to see what sort of careers will be available in the next 5 years. So you won't have finished any degrees by then, but you'll be finished school. And this is from February 2016. What do you notice? What do you notice? What sort of subjects do you think you might take, James, if you were looking at one of those? Maybe something in IT? Perhaps mathematics to support the IT? Maybe design technology, so there's information technology, design technology, mathematics for your architecture, policy analyst, that sounds a bit mathematics and a bit like you might do some legal studies in behind that. And interior design, obviously, visual art design, as well as design technology. This is predicting the next 20 years from Business Review Weekly. Still a lot of digital. Aged care, so that's our health area. It means when we're looking at aged care, it doesn't limit to working as a nurse or an assistant there. Aged care facilities also need doctors, physiotherapists, cooks, and a variety of other things. Preventative health and wellness. So do some research like this, have a look at what's coming up over the next lot of years, and then see what subjects will match pursuing a career or an interest in those areas. Talk to people. The careers awareness evening that we had earlier this year or last term, we talked about the importance of a mentor. And many people who are successful at navigating through high school and then university and then into a career have had one or two people, key people, that they often go back to. Don't have to see them all the time, but you might see them 2 or 3 times a year, where you might just have a chat with them about, this is where I'm at, what do you think I should do next? How did that work out for you? Go to places, go to the universities. Each of the universities actually just had open days in the last weekend. You want to do them, start doing them in Year 11. Don't wait till Year 12 to do it, because you want to have a look next year about fine-tuning your Year 12 subjects. You can go to each of the websites, and those are the ones for our local ones. And now Mr Francis will talk about how you would go through the process of selecting your subjects for next year.
Thanks, Fiona. Now, according to research, we can really take about 5 or 10 minutes worth of information in before we kind of start tuning out. So theoretically, by the time Daniel finished, most of us were out of here thinking about the Olympics or The Bachelor. So in the next probably minute, could you turn to someone next to you and talk about something that you've heard tonight that you haven't heard before, or talk about something that you've heard before but it was done in such a better way tonight than you've ever heard before in your life? You've got 30 seconds, go. Alrighty. Thank you. So my exciting part of tonight is to let you know about the decision-making process that you're about to go into. We've kind of looked at the way we've done subject selections slightly differently this year. If you've had a child come through before, you would have realised we had this night really early in the term. We've deliberately put it later in the term because the uni weekends were last weekend. You've had parent-teacher interviews, and then we've got our course counselling coming up. So we've staggered it a bit so you have a bit more of a feel of what Year 10's like. And also, if you're doing science, you're in those rotations and you might get a better feel of some of the science courses that you're doing. So the deal now is, what do you do now? What do we have to think about? Really, the decisions you've got to make are kind of like which pathway you're going to follow down. Are you going down the SACE and VET pathway or the IB Diploma pathway? And if so, what subjects are you going to kind of choose? Now, you've got to remember, as Fiona said, it's not the end of the world if you don't quite pick the exactly right subject that you're going to grab, because it's redeemable. Okay? There's always ways of being able to get around and work around it, but you really want to make a wise decision and not a silly one to start with, because otherwise you get into a bit of a pickle. Remembering in this next stage, the most important person in this decision-making process is you. It's not you and your mates, it's not all the other people around you, it's what you like doing and where your strengths are, and capitalising on them as well. You might struggle in maths, you might find that a bit tricky, but that challenge might be really good for you in the future. It might be one of those things that just gets you to kind of develop as a person as you work through that kind of harder kind of gear. Pick subjects that you really like doing, because as Fiona said, if you grab something that you like doing, you're going to stick it out more than if you just do it because you have to do it. Mum and Dad wants me to do chemistry and physics, so that's what I'll do. Pick what's really good that you're good at, pick where your strengths are, and don't be swayed by those other people. Use your parents as sounding boards. They have a bountiful amount of wisdom. They may not seem like it at times, but they do. They know their stuff. Also, your teachers know their stuff. So have a chat to them as well. Okay? The other thing is to look at the way the courses compare. Now, Clark's done this, and so is Fiona, but we're going to quickly scan it again. If you have a look at that table there, in each of the kind of curriculum streams, there are parallels. There's a literacy component, there's a numeracy component, there's choices that you can make, and there's patterns that you need to fit to make them all work. As in the diploma, you've got to pick 6 subjects, you do extended essay and you do TOC. In the SACE, you've got to pass your PLP, you've got to pass your research project, and you've got to get your numeracy and literacy, otherwise you don't get your SACE. So there are trips in each of them, and there are hoops you've got to jump through, but they are equivalent in their parallelness, it's not a word, I just made it up. They're equivalent in the way in which they run together. When you look at Year 12 courses, when you look at that, SACE, you have to choose a minimum of 3 subjects to get the SACE, but we're talking about doing 5 because we think that's a good way of going. And when you look at that, the SACE and the diploma rank up really well with 5 subjects there. Faith issues in SACE goes for a semester, whereas the group 6, and then there's pastoral care and Christian studies within that last group for the IB, and the pastoral care program runs across both of them as well. Once you get to Year 11, they'll kind of make it a bit more clear. So don't get too panicky and stressed about this. Some people get they start kind of worrying massively. It's about you and your choices and your strengths and your passions, and picking courses that will match with that as well. So, decision-making process. Work out what's best for you. It's not necessarily what your friends are doing. Okay? I like Rich, he's a great guy, so I'm going to do the same subjects as he does. Now, that might be fine, but Rich might be a complete nerd and do something that doesn't suit you. Follow what you find strength in, because you'll actually enjoy that far better. Okay? Refer to what you've learned through the PLP. The PLP tells you a whole lot of stuff about the way you learn, the things that you like, and also when you put that with the careers things, it links into maybe a career that you might want to follow through with when you're when you leave school. Now, I know you're in year 10 and you're thinking, oh, careers, that's horrible, how am I going to think about that? Probably your mum and dad are still thinking about what they want to do for a career as well, so don't get stressed too much. But make your base of subjects as wide as you can to have those options there ready for you. They keep on talking about the fact that when you guys hit the workforce, there are jobs there that aren't even thought about at this stage. Which doesn't mean that you don't think about your subjects or think about doing anything at school. It means keeping that base as wide as you can so when you do hit uni, you can bend and change whichever way you need to. Listen to information and advice, ask lots and lots of questions, keep your options open, which means that Ms. Herbert always used to say, keep your highest level of maths going that you can. And then they'll keep some options open when you go to university, and also the way in which you think with logical thought. There's a lot of stuff at the moment going on about computer science. People think computer science is about programming and all that kind of stuff. Computer science is really looking at how you think and how you can deconstruct a problem. A lot of people are saying if you compare a degree that you do at the moment with a computer science degree, it's going to put you in a really good place to actually get a good job in the future. A mate of mine works at Google and they're hiring people that do a computer science and architecture degree together. So why would they do that in Google? Because the computer science has the logical thought and the architecture has the spatial ability that they want to use when they do stuff. So think about that a little bit rather than just kind of going down a narrow kind of way. Keep an open mind, and you might change your mind several times, and that doesn't matter. That's a good thing to do. So why about the SACE? As we've talked about before, it's highly flexible, gives you a whole lot of ranges you can go to. You can specialise in certain areas. If you really love science and maths, you can actually go absolutely nuts in that. And spend most of your time doing science and maths. Same with the arts. If you're really strong in arts, you might want to go down that pathway. Really depends on where your strengths are, but you can focus in on that as well. VET can be included in that. You can do 150 credits worth of VET, and VET can count towards your ATAR, which means you could probably be doing something that could get you a Cert 3 in VET that gets you towards a career straight away if you do a Cert 4, but it also can go into a diploma in university, so you're already taking those steps forward while you're at school. VET, as we said, gives you some opportunities to do study outside of school, but also gives you skills and gives you a head start into jobs. There are some stories around about people going to university and then flicking back to TAFE to be able to get those practical skills up so they're employable. But if you are interested in those VET things, follow them through, because you might find that you find that thing that ticks the box for you that then value adds to what you're doing at school. IB Diploma, as Clark said, gives you a prereqs into uni, and it gives you a broad curriculum that keeps lots of options open. Now, make out you start next year, you've got everything sorted out, and you start heading into the year, and something goes horribly wrong and you want to change courses. You can still do that. It works quite easily. In the first couple of weeks of the year, you can juggle around quite a bit if you need to, but once we're down the kind of pathway up to about week 4 or 5, it's really hard to change. So you want to kind of make sure that when you start, you've kind of got a pretty good idea of where you're at without having to chop and change. You can move from SACE to VET easily, so you can drop a SACE unit and pick up a VET unit. You can go from IB to SACE and VET, but it's really hard to go the other way around. So if you start off in IB and you find that's just not ticking the boxes for you and think this isn't what I thought it was going to be, and you've got legitimate reasons and concerns about moving into SACE, then you can do that as well, but you have to do that earlier on. Normally what we say is that if you're in the IB course and you go, oh my goodness, this is too tricky, it's about week 7 of term 1, I want to kind of jump down into SACE, really, really hard to do. What we tend to do is say, let's go through to the end of year 11, then you can convert to SACE if you want to, and we can get block status for the subjects that you've done in year 11 for stage 1 SACE. So there's an agreement between the IB and SACE, which means we can convert an IB course to just a number of credits in SACE at stage 1. So where do we roll from here? This is how it rolls. It's pretty punchy at the moment. It's week 4, isn't it? Yep, good. Okay, good. Otherwise, I've made a big mistake. It's week 4. And week 4 starts with this information session. And you've got your goodie pack, you've got your show bag there that's got a whole lot of information in it, as well as subject selection form and a SATAC guide. SATAC guide tells you all the combinations of subjects you can do and can't do in Year 12. Have a squiz at that because that's printed now and they can't change what's in there for you guys going into Year 12. And it has things in it like precluded combinations. So at Year 12 you can't do, let's make one up. You can't do math methods and general maths at Year 12. And that'll be in the book, so you can look at those precluded combinations, especially if you're thinking that far ahead. Week 5, you have parent-teacher interviews on Tuesday the 23rd. No, you don't. You don't have that, so don't come on Tuesday the 23rd because you've missed them. That's the Year 12s. Yeah, that's Year 11s. Yeah. I wondered why that was there. Anyway, week 5, there is course counselling for you guys with the ability to sit down with a home group teacher, or myself, or Fiona, or Daniel, or Peter, or John, and talk to us about the subject selections that you're going to do. The booking for that is done through PTO bookings, exactly like you do for parent-teacher interviews, and an email will come to you in the next couple of days letting you know about that. So on that Thursday and the Friday, what happens is we book out YBR in the library, and there'll be people there for the whole day from about 8:30 to about 5:30 at night, having one-to-one interviews with you and your child, and talking through the combination of the subjects you might want to do, and talking about the strengths and weaknesses that your child's got, looking at the recommendations for mathematics, and really making sure that the decision you make is really well thought out and fits the patterns that we need to fit. So it's really important that you have that time that's set aside for that, and when that PTO booking comes in, just jump in and you'll be assigned a counsellor to go and chat to. If you've got it nailed in your head, you know exactly what you're going to do, then you don't need to bring your mum and dad along to that interview. You can come along and do it by yourself. However, you still need to come and talk to a counsellor to just talk that through. Because we'd really just want to nut out in your head that you've thought this through and you're making really wise decisions that's going to set you up really well for Year 11, then also for Year 12, and then post-Year 12. There we go, I've already talked about that. That's great. I've jumped my thing. What happens is by Monday, August 28, the subject selections will shut. They're all done online, and I'll give you a short demo in just a tick about what that looks like. And they shut on Monday the 28th at about midday. The reason for that is that then we start building our subject lines. What we do here at Concordia is we look at what you guys want to do. We then look at how that fits and work out what classes we're going to run, and then we build our lines, which is our combination of the subjects that we run based on what you've asked us for. We start that on the 28th, and I reckon by about midnight on the 28th, that'll be finished for Years 11 and 12, and we'll already be ready to know about how we're going to start building our timetable for the next year. Our turnaround time is quite tight on this, and that's deliberately why we kind of had this night later than we did last year. But that cut-off date is the 28th, and we will be hounding you like you've never been hounded before if you haven't got your subject selection in by then. Guaranteed. And it'll be one of us four. Yeah, we'll just put you wherever we like. It's really important that you get your selections in there because we build, as I said, we build our lines. If you don't get them in and then you suddenly go, oh my goodness, I forgot, which we won't let you do, then sometimes it's really hard to get the combination of subjects you want because we've already built the structure that we've got. Our Year 11 and Year 12 lines sit together, and then they also sit across on our 7 and 8 lines. So once we've got them cemented, it's very hard for us to move a whole lot of things. At the end of week 6, we'll have the whole thing done and dusted, and by the end of week 8, we'll be ready to roll for a timetable for next year. So our timeframes are really, really tight. So what does that look like for you guys? In terms of getting your subjects done, in your gift bag, goodie bag, envelope, whatever you want to call it, you've got a whole lot of bits of paper. There's a subject selection kind of 4 pages that we've made for you. This is just a really nice way of getting you to be able to clear your thoughts so you can put your ideas down on a bit of paper, and we ask that you bring this along with you to the subject selection counselling session. On the first page, it's got your name and your interests and those kind of things, and some stuff from your PLP that you would have done during that, and you need to fill that out. On the second page, there comes up with a page that looks like what you would like to choose for SACE. I know it's really tiny there, but I know you've got a real live version in front of you. The second page has the SACE ones and the combinations of what subjects you need to fill out and how that needs to go. We also ask you to just do a rough stab in the dark about what Year 12 might look for you if you follow that SACE pattern through. Because if you say at year 12, I'm going to do chemistry, but there's no chemistry in year 11, for us we'll be going, you probably need to choose chemistry at year 11. So we look at those kind of things when we do the counselling to make sure it all kind of sets out right. If you're doing the IB, same thing. On the next page there's an IB section there that looks at the combination of the subjects you can choose. So in your head you can start drawing circles around what you're going to do so that when you're ready to roll, you can come in and just enter that into the computer. And on the last page has got some other information if you want to do VET and some counselling notes. The reason why we ask you to bring this bit of paper with you to the course counselling is that your counsellor will write a whole lot of notes on these. We'll give you a copy if you want a copy, but we keep a copy for ourselves just in case something comes up a bit further on down the track and we need to go back, because our memories are nowhere near as good as what they used to, and after we talked about 100 kids, we'll have no idea what we said to the first one, so we have to write it down. The way it works is that you would have already got an email from a company called Timetabling Solutions, and it would have come to you as a student as no reply. It's a no reply email. That email is generated from the program that makes our timetable for us, and you can go onto that now and log in and make your subject selections right here, right now if you want. I want to show you what that looks like, and if it all works well, this is going to be fantastic. Whenever you do a public presentation, they say never do anything live because it will never work. I'm just going to fly in the face of that and see if this works. Oh, it did. Hurrah. Okay, so you would have got an email that looked like this one here that says no reply. Oh, no, it won't. See, it didn't work. Told you. This has gone completely belly up. Wait a sec. Give me a tick. Don't panic. You're probably not. I'm the one that's panicking. There we go. Beautiful. Don't panic. There we go. Lovely. There we go. Cool. You'll get an email that looks like this one here that says no reply. And it will have your name on it. And basically no reply means don't go reply to that. When you open it up, you'll see there'll be an email to you, and I'll grab this one here, with hello, whatever your name is, and it says your subject selections for year 11 are ready to roll. Click on this link and it will take you to the right spot. Please just click on the link. Don't delete the email. Don't try to copy that link down and type it in because it won't work. Just click on the link. Thank you. Normally we have about 5% of the people that don't do that. So we could name you now, but that'd be rude. Please just click on the link. Just do it. When you click on the link, it'll take you to web preferences, and if all working well, it'll open up, and you'll come to a portal that looks like this. It's just very, very similar to the way in which you would have done it last year going into year 10 with the selections you've got, but this year you've got far more options to choose from. The big green button that says Add New Preferences is a big hint. You've got to click on that to add new preferences. It's pretty logical. So when you click on it, what it will do is it'll open up your study stream. So this is where if you choose IB Diploma, you'll click on that one, it takes you to a separate window. If you choose SACE, click on that one, it'll take you to the SACE window. So I'm going to pretend I'm going to do SACE. When I click on that, oops, it will open up for me. It'll take me to a student portal for SACE, and it will look slightly different from the IB one, and it will look fantastic. It's really cool. It's just not working. When you go there we go, hallelujah. So you'll find that when you look at a page like that, there'll be a big red bar across the top. This red bar says to you, hey, you've got to make a whole lot of selections, and you've done none at the moment. So it's pretty intelligent. What it tries to do is it tries to step you through a process so you make the right selection so you don't get something wrong. So for your English, you have to choose an English in semester 1, and then you've got to choose an English in semester 2. Okay? Now, semester 1 and semester 2 for English, it's the way the machine works. It just grabs one half and sticks it to another half. Then it comes down to your math subjects, and at the top it puts the math subjects and all the other subjects you can choose. I'm going to make a deliberate mistake, and I'll show you why. I'm going to click on Essential Maths there, and then come down here, and then I'm going to click on, I'm going to go and do Specialist Maths there. Yo. I'm going to keep on going. And then I've got my other preferences. So I've chosen my 2 maths. I know I've done it wrong, so don't kind of go me. But I've done it wrong, so I'll show you what the error is. Then you choose your other preferences. Now, you need to kind of do these in order of what you'd like to do. Remembering something like physics is a full year subject. Chemistry is a full year subject. Design tech, PE, biology, psych, all those ones you can do as a single semester, but those sciences are the ones that go all the way through, and generally people do music all the way through too as well, because those 2 subjects link together. So I'm going to pick the subjects that I like doing, and I'm going to do a whole lot of semester stuff because I want to do that. I really like ancient studies, so I'm going to do that there, and then I'm going to come here and do it there. Don't be too phased about the semester 1, semester 2 choices. because it's just the way the machine works. We'll juggle that around to make it work beautifully. I've also realised that I really, really like drama, and so I'm going to do 2 lots of drama because I reckon that'd be great. And now I'm going to come scrolling down, and I'm going to, I just don't really know, but I reckon I might give biology a crack because that always looks good on your resume. And I'm going to come down here and go and do geography as well. If you do a language has to go for a full year. And I'm going to go down preference 11, come down here, and I'm going to go economics because I reckon that'd be great. And then notice that there are 2 reserves. Now these reserves are reserves, and I just want to say that again. The machine will actually go through and look at your preferences, and if a combination doesn't work when we start building the lines, it will go to your preference. It'll go to your preference. So don't put something down there that you have no interest in doing at all. Because every year we probably have 2 or 3 kids that do it, and once again I won't ask you to nominate for that, who'll put down something they have no interest at all in, and then when we generate a timetable, up will come with one of these subjects and you go, well, I didn't choose that, and we can pull out your subject selections and we can say, yes, you did. So please think about those reserves, because the machine will automatically go to the reserves if it can't get the other combination of subjects that you have chosen. If you go to a reserve, we'll come and have a chat with you, because we'll know that. So we'll come and say, look, we've gone to your reserve, is that what you really want to do? Is there anything else that might suit you? And you can change it around. But please, I can't emphasise enough, make sure you chose a reserve that you wouldn't mind doing if the other ones don't work out. So my reserves, you know what I'd really like to do? I'd like to do food tech because mum can't cook. And then in here, I'm going to do PE because it's down here somewhere. Oh no, I'll do photography. That looks better. Cool. You'll notice down the bottom, you've actually got to click on research project and just click that in there, just put research project in there. The reason we put it there is to make you remember that you've got to click on research project at the end. When I get to the end of that, I'm going to go proceed, and I know what's going to happen. It's going to give me an error because I've already made those mistakes. And it comes up and tells me what my mistake is. Okay, it says, okay, in selecting maths, you've also got to select another lot of maths. So if you select essential maths in semester 1, I must choose essential maths in semester 2. And it's going to tell me something about specialist maths being here. I can't do specialist maths there because I can't choose it with essential. So those 3 units of math methods and the spec maths combination and all those other maths combinations are programmed into this, so it's really hard to make a mistake. Give it a crack. We tried today to try to break it, and we were pretty happy because we couldn't, but probably one of you will. So when you get to that, you've got to go back to your selection page and go, oh, I've got to fix that up. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into here. I'm going to do, I'm going to go math methods there, and I'm going to come into here and do math methods here, and then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to get rid of ancient studies. Who wants to do that? And do math methods there, and then I'm really going to do my spec maths, which is going to be there somewhere. Where has it gone? Must be down the bottom under S. It's not there. Is it? Oh, there it is. Mathematics specialist. I was looking for S. I'm not an English teacher. And then it will work for me. If you don't know what a subject is about, and you suddenly think, I wonder what spec maths is about, on the right-hand side you'll see an I button. When you hit the I button, I really hope this works, it'll pull up for you a description of what's in that course. Okay, so these are being updated as we roll, but they're all sitting in there as well. And we're also printing the curriculum handbook, which is all the subjects we offer, and that'll be punched out online within a couple of days. But the I will take you to a little brief overview that tells you what's in the subject, what it entails for the assessment, and all those kind of things. So it's all sitting in one little spot for you. Once you've got it to a spot that looks pretty good and you're happy with it, you can go proceed. And what it will do is it will come to this page and kind of process your selections for you. Now, don't, when you get to this page, go, I'm done, shut your laptop down really gently like you do so you don't hurt it, and then walk away, because in the next screen, there's a little button that says Submit Preferences. And what that actually means is submit a valid preference. So kids last year, or people last year, just shut it off there and didn't actually submit anything, and they said, I've done it. But until you actually do that, it's not actually going to submit it to the portal. That first check, just make sure that you've got everything in the right spot. The second one then submits it to us and gets recorded in our database. Once it's done that, you've got a great printout of everything that you've done, and we ask you to click on Open Print View and print a copy for yourself, and print another copy for yourself and get that signed. So when we do the subject selection counselling, we'll actually print them then and there for you, and if your folks are there, we'll get them to sign it straight away. So we've got a copy, so they know that we know that you know that we know what they know that you know that what you've chosen to do, okay? Because every now and then it doesn't work out that way. You actually have the ability to do this 10 times, okay? There is a 99 kind of cap on how many times you can change your mind, but we decide that 10 is probably enough. So if you want to go back in there, you can just use that link again and go back in, and you can change your mind 10 times up to that time. So that's the way the selections work. It's very similar to last year, and the email will be sitting there waiting for you. Very, very keen and eager for you to do that. Once again, you can go in there tonight and make your selections if you know exactly what you're going to do. But I would kind of encourage you to kind of wait until we've had the course counselling, and we've gone through that until it's ready to go. If you know exactly what you're going to run with, you can always fill it in now anyway, and then once you're ready to roll, with our subject counselling, we can just confirm it and we're done. Some kids have really worked this whole thing through and they know what they're going to do. They know what maths they're going to do, they know what sciences they're going to do. So just kind of be aware that you can do that if you want, but we kind of suggest that the best way to do that is to really use that subject selection process with that counselling to help you as well. So you've got 10 choices. Important websites to look at if you want to look at some stuff. The SACE website has all the courses in there as well. The IBO website has all the stuff for the IBO, and the SATAC website is really good. The other thing we need to say as well is that when we build our timetable, we look at critical numbers for classes to run. And as a college, we've got to run classes that are viable for us. And there may be times where we don't run a combination of subjects because we haven't got enough people in it. If that's the case, we'll come and have a chat to you. But more often than not, we do run things, and we might convert, say, a photography course that could have run for the whole year. We might convert it to a half-year photography course to make it viable and to make it run so you get your selection. I just need to kind of let you know that as well. So, coming to the end of tonight, this is really good, it's 8:31. We've actually live streamed this thing tonight, so it's actually on YouTube as we speak. So you can come back and watch this at your leisure. Go for it. Come to the gags, watch them over and over again. But we'll send you an email link that will send a link to the YouTube so you can go and watch it if you've missed something, because you've had a lot of information given you tonight and you might want to scan through it. A bit of a hint is when you go to YouTube, on the right-hand side of a YouTube window, there's a little cog. It allows you to play the YouTube clips at double speed. So, for Fiona, when Fiona's talking, put it on double speed, put it all the way through. When I'm talking, crank it back to full speed, it'll be great. Have we got any general questions that we can possibly answer right here now? Yeah, sorry, at the back. Fantastic question. The question was, for those home on the internet watching this, we actually have one person watching it, so we've got a great audience. The question was, what happens when you've got your VET choices? On that scroll down screen, there's a VET choice at the bottom, and you click that and it just double locks a VET away for us. Yep, so it's right down the bottom of the list. And also, if you're wanting to do the SACE and an IB subject, there's an IB button you can click there as well, and it will just record that you've got one IB subject you want to choose, and we'll have a conversation to you about that as well. Anyone else? Cool. Golden. So look, once again, thank you very much for coming out tonight. Parents, keep an eye on the email for the information being sent to you. Kids, go check your email with the subject selections. Thanks for coming. Have a great night.